So the very last thing we need to talk about with the Second Great Awakening is one of the founders that really encapsulates the changes in the direction of this movement of this time is Charles Grandison Finney, the evangelical preacher who was one of the main leaders of the Great Awakening. He led rallies and demonstrations and challenged the church with how women were leaders in the church, and he allowed women, this sort of informal leadership body, to play a major role in the whole movement that he was part of. And he was not trained to be a preacher, he was not trained in the church, but he was trained as a lawyer. And he sort of saw the connection that, yes, the United States is growing. Economics, though turbulent and sort of in the 1830s, you have a huge decline in the markets. You still see a growth in these cities. Urbanization is growing rapidly, and he saw a connection to these urban growth and with problems of society. Huge problems of gambling, prostitution, drinking. You see the decline for families and the decline in health. You see the problems of children not going to school and having to maybe work in factories. He saw all these sins of society being connected to urban growth. So his religious movements and using rallies, he called for a vote of Jesus Christ to be the universal leader. So he was looking at the same way, the same sort of political fervor to make change politically, but now connect that religiously. And so he had everyone come together and sort of fight for change of the society, neighborhood by neighborhood, and area, city by city, but connect it to personal salvation, and then putting that into that effort and that energy into social reform. So that becomes the basis for the Second Great Awakening and for social reform of the 1800s. You could think of all the changes that happened in the 1900s and even today in the 21st century, how a lot of the thread of reform movements, especially in religious churches and circles, of how to be active members of society, to how to use changes in society reform, comes from this time of Finney and others and the women of the movements and the education reforms to then play a major role in our mindset and identity of America and the changes that happen in throughout the century and the rest of our class.